Hey guys, I have a Rigid R4512 10-inch table saw. I've had it for a few years. It's awesome. It does a lot of work. But what I do whenever I'm done, for example, I milled up all this lumber right here. When I'm done milling lumber and I convert it from a table saw, which I'll raise the blade here so you can see. Obviously I have a Diablo blade in there. But I convert it from a table saw to a disc sander, and I'll show you how I do that. It's really simple. I have it unplugged, so it's not going to turn on me here for messing around with it. So what I did is I got on Amazon, and I bought one of these Freud 10-inch calibrating and sanding discs, which is truly sweet. It converts my table saw into a disc sander, but it also is such a flat surface that I'm able to get a really nice calibration of my table saw to where it's making perfect 90-degree cuts. But what I did is I purchased the disc on Amazon. I think it was like 20 or 30 bucks, and actually it says item number C like Charlie, D for David, 010. So that's the disc. And then I went to let's see here, Klingspor's woodworking shop, and then this is a 10-inch PSA hook disc. The reason I did that is the hook and loop that came with this disc, it was really crap. It actually burned through, and I wasn't able to use it but one time. But I've gotten a lot of uses out of this one from Klingspor, and the item number, it says it's VC10300. So what I did is once I got my disc, I had to remove the earlier stuff that I had before, and I just took some I think it was some acetone and was able to take off all the glue stuff, and then I cleaned it up, and then I put this one on, and this one's really nice. It's just a peel and stick onto this piece. So in order for me to make my sandpaper, I buy my sandpaper from 2sand.com, which is really good sandpaper. It doesn't I use this over and over and over, and actually what I do is I just get the I'll show you how I make this. I get the 10-inch sanding disc, so it's hook and loop. See, it sticks on there, and the way I put the hole on there so that the bolt can go through is I just keep it really simple. I'll grab an old disc, which I've already made a hole here. So what I'll use that just as my template. So I just align it here, get it pretty close to perfect. It doesn't have to be like engineered perfect. It's all right. So then I'll just grab a pencil and just make the circle. Alrighty. So I have my circle, and then I'll just get a utility knife and cut along the line there. I just make one cut right in the middle from line to line, and then I'll do the rest nice and slow. And I just go on the line. I used to do this with a hole saw, but I found that after doing like 10 of these, the teeth on the saw would actually get really dull. So it's easier for me to just change out the razors on these than to mess up my hole saw attachments. So you can kind of see I already got half taken off. And I'll go ahead and do the rest here. Push, and I have this scrap piece of wood here just so I'm not messing up my my workbench. So now I've just went ahead and cut out that circle, and then what I do, I'll put it on my hook and loop. Which this right here, this is a 150 grit from 2sand.com, which I would highly recommend their sandpaper. Their sandpaper is so awesome. I used to use Diablo from Home Depot, and I tell you what, for like I'd say every 10 I would go through those, I only use one for the 2sand, which you can kind of also see I have their 8-hole hook and loop sandpaper also for my small orbital sanders. So anyway, once I have that on there, it doesn't have to be perfect because you're only going to be sanding on this part, not down here. And what I'll do is I'll just grab a roller, which you can get like a piece of wood, and you know, just make sure that it's down. But what I do is I like to just get one of these little rollers and just make sure that it's adhered. It sticks really well to the hook and loop. So then that's on there. It's perfect. And then I'm going to move this over so you can kind of see what I'm doing on my table saw, how I put it in there. So I'm going to remove the blade. And what I'll do is first I have to pull up on the riving knife here to where the blade will be able to come out. And then I'm just going to take my wrenches over here to take off the nut that's holding onto the blade. This is where you have to be careful, because I don't know if you've ever done a dado stack or anything like that, but having that nut and the washer fall down there into that dustiness that you have down there, it's not very fun. So then you slowly take your blade out, and what I do is I face it out that way. The reason is I'm able to use all of the fence over there, because I don't use really this side, and you'll see why. You can turn it around the other way, it's really your preference, but I'll show you why I do that. So then I'll put it facing that way, put my washer on, put my nut on. Be real careful with that nut, because like I said, it likes to fall down there, and you have to either take out your dust collection hose and fish it out that way, or just get a big long magnet and pull it up. That's not fun. So then I'm just going to tighten my bolt here and my nut. Alright, I'm going to secure my riving knife here. Just do it by hand. Put my plate back on, and then I usually get an engineer square just to make sure that, because I usually cut on this side, so I make sure that that this is 90. I have an engineer square, and I just raise it up here. And this is really cool because it's able to give me a really accurate, and I'll show you here what I mean here. So what you want to do, and I'm doing this with one hand and showing you here, so see if we can kind of see that. So for example, you can kind of see, you want no daylight. Like daylight, you know, you can kind of see like right there, you don't want any gap right there between the engineer square right up here and the plate. So if I push it, see, look at that, it's perfect. You don't see any light. So that means that whenever I put my saw blade back on, it's at a perfect 90. I don't have to even mess with the angle or anything like that. I've already gotten, and I use this many times like this. So anyway, that's at 90, and the cool thing is this side right here is also at 90. Look at that, no daylight. So what I do is I'll grab wood, and I use this side because I stand right around this edge here, and I'm able to sand tons of stuff. I'm talking, you know, I don't really ever do pieces like this, but then you can just run your piece. I leave the riving knife on there just to be safe, but you should see the finish that I'm able to get just off of that. You know, like let's say for example you're doing, you know, you're wanting to round over this piece right here, comes in really handy for that. And then I mean it takes about a minute or so to take that off, and then put my blade back on, and it's like nothing. I mean, it's not like, you know, getting a dado stack put on and, you know, checking the width that you want to cut. So that's what I do. I just use one of these Freud calibration discs, and then I ordered the better hook and loop, the PSA stuff from Klingspor. I always mess up that name, Klingspor. And here's the hook and loop. I have an extra one just in case I burn through that one, so I always have one on hand. And then the sandpaper that I use is just the this one right here. See, it's 150 grit, but I have different grits of the 10-inch, and then, you know, I trace it out. And actually, when you first get it, what you can do is you can use this as your template. So you want to Sorry, I'm moving my camera all over the place here, but when you first get it, just so you can have a first initial template, you can use this, put that over your disc and trace out that line, and then that's how you can have your template. And then just keep that one once you've burned through the paper and it's done, it's over with. Just keep that circle as a reference, which is what I usually use this one for. Another tip to keep your sandpaper running long is what I do is after the machine's running, I'll turn it off. So I'll come over here and I'll hit it, and then as it's winding down, I'll put this sandpaper cleaner. This is from Harbor Freight, so I'll put that and just kind of rub it as it's winding down, and that takes off all that crud. Plus, I'm able to clean my sandpaper, and I get a lot of use out of that sandpaper from doing this rather than letting it just build up. Hopefully it helps somebody else out there, but it sure helps me out. I have to sand about, I'd say about 100 units a week, and that's times 8 pieces per unit. So that's about 800 pieces that go through that sandpaper, and I'm able to get about, I'd say about 10 sanding sessions out of all those pieces of lumber, out of just keeping my paper clean, and then using that disc, and then I just take it off whenever I go back to milling lumber and all that. So anyway, hopefully it helps you guys out. It sure helps me out, and it saves me a lot of money. Rather than actually buying a huge disc sander and doing all that, I'm able to just put that disc on there, and there you go. And actually the cool thing too is you could even move that at an angle if you wanted to put it, like let's say for example you wanted to give it like a chamfer, you can do that as well. So anyway, see you guys.